to play with you anymore.
Seed, this is the 7th week in a row you've shown Ultra Lord in class.
Miss Fowl. This one is different. This purple vengeance version with power fist and nuclear knees is in rare, never been seen condition, making it highly collectible.
Hello, Popoki here, and welcome back to another Destiny 2 build video. Now, this build was voted on and requested by you guys in the Discord, so alas, it's finally here. So, what we have here is something very special, very cool. If you know how to run this, you are going to be running this. You are going to want to, and you're going to have a lot of fun. Especially because Palindrome is the GM weapon, and I think you kind of want it. So I'm getting this video out here during this week so you can go farm Palindrome using this build to get super fast runs. Now, to get started, we have to talk about the actual build itself. So if you've been subscribed to my channel, you probably know of the Fealty build. Not many people are running Fealty at all, but I would consider it one of Hunter's best exotics they've ever gotten. And people are still sleeping on it. And my most recent build, which has taken up a lot of popularity, and I'm even seeing it in game everywhere, and that is the Gifted Conviction Prismatic Hunter build. But what a lot of people had issues with is it wasn't that offensive. It was too focused on defense, too much resist, too much amplification, not enough oomph, right? So, y'all in the Discord voted for, give us Gifted Prismatic, but like, it does damage, right? Here it is. Here's that build. We are taking my Fealty build of old, updating it with the Modern Ascension and the toolkit of Gifted Prismatic. What this allows us to do is have good enough DR at all times to survive, soloing a Grandmaster, while having the power of Fealty allowing us to stun all 3 champs, delete champions, always have Transcendence, and just be an overall, just complete menace in PvE. Like, look at the Transcendent bar going up on the screen. Look at that. Like, there is not a single moment in a GM where you will not have Transcendence. You just have it forever. So, that's basically it. The combination of Modern Ascension proccing things like Gambler's Dodge and soon-to-be Reaper added with a little bit of Gifted Flare and some insane Fealty potential allows us to run just constant DR, constant dodge chance, which means the only way you're dying is if you're playing bad. And since we have amplified at all times, we can set our mobility to 50, which allows us to set our recovery high. Why do hunters die so often? Because their recovery is usually too low because they have to focus on things like mobility and resilience. Now on to the boring part of the video that everyone here knows already.
Kill me or release me, parasite. But do not waste my time with talk.
Is the energy slot. Now usually my builds don't require a certain type of weapon, and this one does, but there's a few options. First option, Area Denial Grenade Launcher. Either the VS Velocity Baton or the Psycho Pump are the best and only options, and I would say use this, right? If you have anything you can use one of these. Next up would be an Ergo Sum. Now, the 2 main ones are Arc Conductor Waveframe and Perfect Fifth Caster. Both of these are awesome. I'm going to probably make a dedicated video on Ergo Sum at some point because they are that good and people seriously aren't giving them enough credit. Next up is the Palindrome with Rolling Storm. Because this build does not have access, Hunter does not have access to Bolt Charge outside of Arc, except for Purpose, but that doesn't count. And Pound Drum with Rolling Storm allows super easy access to Bolt Charge to make our Fealty shurikens deal that much more damage to champions and majors. Do not sleep on that, right? For your kinetic slot, you can run literally anything, but since we have our exotic slot open, you can either use an exotic heavy like Queenbreaker or Anarchy, or you can use a Kvastov or whatever, right? I would even say Rake Angle is a really good option. Thank you, Valkyria, in the Discord for getting me on the Rake Angel pill. So first up, Mask of Fealty. You probably know what this does. If you do not know what it does this. Null Factor. Withering Blade hits and bounces create a small stasis crystal and refund a portion of melee energy. Using Withering Blade to shatter crystals or frozen targets releases a spread of Withering Blades. To remove the complexity here, your Withering Blades are now going to spawn a crystal on them. That crystal is going to either immediately shatter or you can shatter it, which is going to massively increase your damage with your Withering Blades. That is like very integral to this. They do a lot of damage, right? Especially with Ruin attached to them. And the bigger thing is that these crystals turn your slowing shurikens into freezing shurikens, which means with one singular shuriken, you can shut down an overload, you can stop a unstoppable, and you can freeze before the barrier comes up and anti-barrier. And if your melee hits and you have Dawn, now you have anti-barrier. Mask of Fealty allows you to deal with all three champions easily. And another thing is this build, right? We want as much transcendent energy as possible. And what not to give us darkness energy than spawning like 500 crystals and throwing 100 melees out to slow and freeze everything. So this is great, right? Mask of Fealty, one of the best hunter exotics, very integral, extremely good. Use it. Our mod setup is nothing special except for the arms, which is usual. Just run a heavy ammo finder and scout, so you're, not being selfish. A siphon that matches your primary weapon. And for our gauntlets, we are going to be using a bolstering detonation, so we get class ability energy when we deal damage with our grenade. So you throw your dusk field, you get more ascension, right? Next up, focusing strike. So when we throw out our shuriken, which we're going to have a ton of, we're going to get more ascension. So when you're in Transcendence, you're constantly throwing your Hailfire Spike, your shurikens, you're going to get your ascension back really quickly. And then we have Impact Induction, which is causing damage with a powered melee attack, reduces your grenade cooldown. This is just a cool thing to help your dusk field come back faster because it's already such a low cooldown, but we have nothing else helping it in this aspect. But if you don't feel like you need this, you can definitely run heavy-handed if you feel like you can make it work, right? 90% of the time, it isn't. But this slot is open. You can run it for whatever. You can run an arc loader if you're running a volt shot weapon. You can run solar loader if you're running heliocentric with heal clip and you need it. The chestplate, we're running classic rainbow. Switch these mods to whatever you need for the encounter. Now for our boots, this is the classic setup of Scavenger, stacks on stacks, and recuperation. But I will add that since this build is used in a Grandmaster Nightfall mostly, you want more passive ammo. So you could probably, not even probably, you should run 2 Scavengers, one matching your special weapon and one matching your heavy weapon. But since I am running 2 void weapons, I can simply use stacks on stacks and I am set. For our class item, we are using the classic Special Finisher, Proximity Ward, and Reaper. Special Finisher and Proximity Ward are like peanut butter and jelly. Special Finisher allows you to have infinite special ammo, and Proximity Ward makes you immune to all damage when you are inside a finisher animation. So if you are 1 HP and you enter a finisher animation in a Grandmaster Nightfall, it doesn't matter if you're hit by 500 bombs, you're tanked by a phalanx, you cannot die. In fact, this gives you just enough time for, if you have high enough recovery, start up your health regen and make sure you don't die. So you can use Proximity Ward in a panic to keep yourself alive. Next up is Reaper. People are going to go, oh my god, Pod, why is Reaper here? You're going to comment down and write on my keyboard that doesn't work. Bungie knows. They know. It's in their known problems. But what else are you really going to run here, right? So, Reaper, yeah, use your Ascension when it gets fixed, and you are going to get a free Orb of Power on your next kill. No brainer, really good, wada wada. Next up, I guess, is the stat distribution. We're running 50 mobility, and you're probably running, why are you 50 mobility? Why not any lower or higher? Because we're going to have Ascension always active, and Ascension gives us 15 seconds of amplification, which we're going to have forever because of Ascension, which means through Amplified, we're going to have soft 100 mobility at all times. So we don't need any more mobility. 50 is the exact minimum you need. Resilience, tier 10, because you can't run anything else in the game. Recovery, as high as you can get it. The highest I've seen is usually tier 7 for this build, but since I am running smaller mods to fit more mods, I can only get it to tier 6, but that's okay. Discipline, tier 10, and intellect and strength do not matter in the slightest. For artifact mods, nothing matters. Don't even look at this. And now here's for the base kit. So the super does not matter. You can run whatever you want, but I'm just running Silence and Squall because I'm using this for Grandmaster Nightfalls, and Silence and Squall is very good for Grandmaster Nightfalls. Never use Storm's Edge. Gambler's Dodge. Gambler's Dodge now works with Ascension, so when we ascend, we get amplified, we jolt the enemies nearby, we get light transcendence energy, and we get a shuriken back. Then we have the Withering Blade, which of course we're using because we're running not Winter's Shroud. What am I talking about? I'm an idiot. We're running Mask of Fealty, and you get 2 of these, so you get 2 Withering Blades, so you get 2 crystals plus whatever, right? Now, the way Fealty works, every bounce gives you like 20% of your Withering Blade back on use. So if you use 2 Withering Blades, you're already up like 40% for your third one. And, you know, using bolstering or whatever with Duskfield allows you to immediately get a third one, and Ascension, of course, is literally sitting right there. So Duskfields are here because, again, this is champion focused. This stuns overloads and unstops and freezes anti-barriers, but the main reason we are running this is darkness energy regeneration. Duskfield grenades are one of the best ways to get darkness energy. If you ever, thought about how a area denial works versus enemies and why it makes so much, is because a whole crowd is being ticked with a single damage type. This is the same way that Duskfield works. So if you throw a Duskfield where you would shoot an area denial, you will get the same amount of darkness energy, if not more. Next up, Stylish Executioner. I shouldn't even have to say this is here because this is basically fused onto Hunters forever. You defeat a target affected by an elemental debuff and you get invisibility and true sight. This is the best thing Hunter has in the entire game. This is the only sustain that they have been given by Bungie. Basically, the entire time you're playing, you're going to be going in and out of invisibility, which is going to be breaking tracking on projectiles and stopping enemies from seeing you as long as you are not jumping and running. This is great, especially because we have our recovery higher. We can actually start our health regeneration before Stylish Executioner's invisibility goes away, which means not only is Stylish making us invisible, but it is technically doing some soft healing on the side. Now, of course, Ascension, we are using this because free Amplified. Amplified gives us 15% DR. It gives us dodge chance. It gives, procs Facet of Hope, which then gives us more Gambler's Dodge. It's a farce. It's not real. Anyways, Facet of Protection. This is a no-brainer. It gives us a little bit, but worthwhile damage resist when we are, hanging around 3 enemies within like 5 meters, and while you are transcendent, the effect is increased. Now, because we are going to be transcendent basically always, we can stack this with transcendences, like native bonuses, to make us really, 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 really strong. Next up, Facet of Dawn. We're going to be throwing melees all the time. Like, it's going to be the thing you're doing the entire time. Your melee is your primary weapon with this build, so you're going to get Radiant, and you are going to be able to deal with anti-barriers because of this. The ever despicable Facet of Ruin that people seem to hate. This is great because all of our damage is coming from shatters. What does Facet of Ruin do? It gives us more damage for shatters. It's like, sure, it's 7%, but when you have, 30 shatters in a Nightfall, that percent really adds up, doesn't it? Facet of Purpose. This is a no-brainer. Hunters need sustain. This gives you sustain. Depending on your super, you will get a type of sustain going from restoration. Bolt charge doesn't count as sustain, but it's here now, I guess. Overshield, frost armor, and woven mail. Facet of Hope. We know it, we love it. It rises from the grave. It was like Jesus and came out of the giant stone door. This is the best facet in the game for hunters. It's great. So when you have any elemental buff, your class ability regenerates more quickly. I believe it's 60%. This works with Ascension. So when you go Amplified with Ascension, you get 15 seconds of Amplified. This procs Hope, and within those 15 seconds, you will get another Ascension. So you get a Withering Blade every 15 seconds guaranteed, and you have the bonus effect of Amplification every 15 seconds guaranteed. So next up, I'm going to do a lazy gameplay portion showing you a slow playthrough of how the build works, and I'll see you there.